When people talk about modern warplanes, they picture sleek stealth jets, the F-22, the F-35, billion-dollar marvels of technology. But the United States military has one aircraft, ugly, old, and loud, that they have never been able to replace. Did you hear that? That sound means one thing to enemy ground forces: it's already too late. That's the GAU-8 Avenger, the most powerful rotary cannon ever mounted on an aircraft, and the plane that carries it is the A-10 Thunderbolt II. Pilots call it the Warthog, after the ugliest animal in Africa. So we say, why is a plane designed in the 1970s still flying combat missions today? Why has every attempt to retire it failed? And what makes it so irreplaceable that soldiers specifically request it by name? That's what this video is about. To understand the A-10, you have to go back to Vietnam. It's the mid-1960s. The war is escalating. American pilots are flying supersonic jets, F-100s, F-105s, fast, powerful, expensive. But those jets had a serious problem. When enemy tanks or troops threatened American ground forces, those supersonic jets couldn't slow down enough to accurately attack them. They were too fast, too high, too far away. The only plane doing the job well was the A-1 Sky Raider, a propeller-driven aircraft from World War II. Slow, low, accurate, deadly to tanks, but it was aging, and it was getting shot down. In 1966, the Pentagon launched Project AX, Attack Experimental. The mission brief was simple: build a dedicated aircraft that can fly low and slow, survive ground fire, and destroy tanks. Two companies competed, Northrop and Fairchild Republic. In 1972, Fairchild's YA-10 prototype won the fly-off. By 1977, the A-10A Thunderbolt II entered official service. Its original mission: stop a Soviet tank invasion of Western Europe. Cold War planners estimated thousands of Soviet tanks rolling through Germany. The A-10 was the answer. The Cold War ended before that battle happened. But in 1991, the Warthog got its real debut, and it shocked everyone. You cannot talk about the A-10 without talking about the gun, the GAU-8/A Avenger cannon. Let me give you some numbers, and I promise you will not believe them. Caliber: 30 millimeters. Weight of the cannon alone: 281 kilograms, heavier than a grand piano rate of fire. 3,900 rounds per minute. That's 65 rounds every single second. That sound, the bursts lasts less than 2 seconds in a typical burst. In that time, the pilot has already put 100 rounds on target. Now here's where it gets wild. The shells the GAU-8 fires are called PGU, 14 armor-piercing incendiary rounds. The tips are made of depleted uranium, one of the densest materials on Earth. They don't just hit a tank, they punch through the armor, enter the crew compartment, and ignite everything inside. A main battle tank, a machine worth millions of dollars, destroyed in under 2 seconds. To put the cannon's power in perspective, the GAU-8's hydraulic drive motor produces 2,815 horsepower. The entire Volkswagen Beetle engine, 46 horsepower. The gun is more powerful than most cars. And here's the engineering detail that blows people's minds. Fairchild didn't design a plane and add a gun. They designed the gun first, then build the aircraft around it. The cannon sits on the center line of the fuselage. The nose landing gear is offset slightly to the right, so the gun barrel fires exactly down the center axis. Everything about the A-10 exists to get that gun on target, keep it firing, and bring the pilot home alive. And that last part bringing the pilot home, is where the real engineering genius lives. The A-10 is not a beautiful aircraft. It doesn't look like it was designed by engineers who cared about aesthetics. That's because it wasn't. It was designed by engineers who cared about one thing: making sure the pilot survives. Let's walk through what they built. The titanium bathtub. Surrounding the cockpit is a shell of titanium armor, 540 kilograms of it. Pilots call it the bathtub. It can withstand direct hits from 23mm cannon fire. A pilot sitting inside that tub is protected from the kind of ground fire that would tear apart any other aircraft. Dual engines, widely separated. The two turbofan engines are mounted high on the rear fuselage, away from each other. If one engine is hit and catches fire, there's almost no chance the fire spreads to the second. The A-10 can fly home on one engine, and has many times. Redundant flight controls. The A-10 has two complete hydraulic systems. If both fail, and this has happened in combat, the pilot can fly manually using a mechanical cable backup system. No electronics required. Self-sealing fuel tanks. The fuel tanks are filled with a foam material that seals bullet holes almost instantly, preventing catastrophic fuel fires. The landing gear trick. Even the landing gear was designed for survival. If the hydraulics fail completely and the gear won't extend, the main wheels hang partially exposed from their pods. A belly landing won't destroy the undercarriage. The plane skids to a stop safely. Now let me show you what this means in practice. Gulf War, 1991. An A-10 took a surface-to-air missile hit. It lost an engine, had hydraulic damage, and the fuselage was torn open. The pilot flew it 250 miles back to base, Afghanistan. 2003. An A-10 was hit by an RPG, engine damage, multiple system failures. The pilot landed safely. Captain Kim Campbell, 2003. Her A-10 was hit by ground fire over Baghdad. The hydraulic systems failed completely. She switched to manual reversion and flew for an hour, landing the aircraft with no hydraulic power at all. After her landing, the ground crew counted over 1,000 holes in the aircraft. She walked away. That's why pilots love this plane. Not because it's glamorous, because it brings them home. The A-10's design philosophy was tested in theory for over a decade. Then came 1991, and the world found out if any of it was real. Coalition forces invaded Iraq to liberate Kuwait. Saddam Hussein had the fourth largest army in the world. Thousands of tanks, artillery pieces, armored vehicles. The A-10 went to work. In 43 days of combat operations, A-10s flew 8,084 missions. They destroyed 987 tanks, 926 artillery pieces, 1,355 military trucks, 2 helicopters, shot down with a cannon, 96 radar installations, 72 armored personnel carriers. That last one, shooting down helicopters with a cannon, has been done by exactly one aircraft in modern warfare, the Warthog. Perhaps the most famous A-10 mission of the war. Iraqi forces retreating from Kuwait City jammed Highway 80 with vehicles, tanks, trucks, artillery, hundreds of them, bumper to bumper. A-10s, F-15s, and other aircraft attacked that convoy for hours. Today, that stretch of road is still called the Highway of Death. The war shifted. No more tank columns. Now it was mountains, caves, and dispersed insurgents. High-speed jets, F-15S, F-16S, struggled to identify small, slow-moving targets in complex terrain without risking civilian casualties. The A-10 was built for exactly this. Flying at low altitude and slow speed, pilots could visually identify targets that would be invisible to faster aircraft. The rate of friendly fire incidents was dramatically lower than comparable aircraft. Special Forces operators began specifically requesting A-10 support by call sign, not air support in general. The Warthog specifically. When you hear that BRRRT over the radio, you know you're going to be okay. U.S. Army Special Forces operator, Afghanistan urban warfare, vehicle-borne bombs, technical trucks with machine guns, the A-10's precision and loiter time, how long it can circle over a target, made it one of the most requested assets in the entire air campaign. In 3 decades of real combat across 3 wars, the A-10's record stands unmatched for ground support missions. In 2012, the Air Force announced plans to retire the entire A-10 fleet. Their reasoning? The F-35 Joint Strike Fighter was coming. It could do close air support. Budget was tight, airframes were aging. Time to move on. Congress said, no. The Air Force said, yes. Congress said, absolutely not. This argument has been going on for over a decade. As of 2024, the Warthog is still flying. So why can't they get rid of it? The F-35A costs approximately $100 million per aircraft. Its flight hour cost around $35,000. The A-10C, roughly $12 million per aircraft. Flight hour cost about $5,000. When your enemy is driving a $15,000 pickup truck with a machine gun, dropping a precision-guided bomb from an F-35 is questionable economics. The A-10 can loiter over a battlefield for hours, engage targets with the cannon at minimal cost, and provide a level of visible deterrence no other aircraft matches. Here's the thing about decisions made in the Pentagon. They affect people who are actually getting shot at: ground troops, special forces, forward air controllers. They filed reports, testified to Congress, made their preferences known. They wanted the Warthog, not the F-35, not the F-15E. The Warthog. When the people whose lives depend on air support tell you which plane they trust, that's a hard argument for any politician to dismiss. The F-35 is a remarkable aircraft, but it is not designed primarily for close air support. It flies fast. Its sensors are extraordinary. Its stealth is unmatched, but slow, low, sustained gun runs over a complex battlefield. That's not what the F-35 was built for. The Air Force has never produced a credible replacement for what the A-10 does, and until they do, retiring it leaves a hole that nothing else fills. The Air Force has begun a phased retirement of older A-10 airframes. The plan is to have most of the fleet retired by the late 2020s. The upgraded A-10C variant continues to fly active combat support missions. What replaces it? That question remains officially unanswered. Retirement ceremonies for A-10 squadrons have a reputation for being unusually emotional. Pilots who flew other jets, their whole careers, fly the A-10 in their final years and speak about it differently than any other aircraft. There's a reason for that. It's the plane that never left anyone behind. Every few years, someone writes an article explaining why the A-10 should be retired. Too old, too slow, too vulnerable to modern air defenses. The future is stealth, sensors, and speed. The Warthog is a relic. Maybe they're right, eventually. But ask the soldier pinned down by enemy fire what they want overhead. And they're not asking for the future. They're asking for the BRRRT. The A-10 Thunderbolt II wasn't built to be admired. It was built to show up when things are at their worst, absorb punishment that would destroy anything else, and bring its pilot home. For nearly 50 years, that's exactly what it's done. Ugly, loud, irreplaceable. The plane that refused to die. If you want more videos on military aircraft, weapons history, and the engineering behind the machines that changed warfare, hit subscribe, ring the bell, and drop a comment below. What's your favorite A10 moment from history? See you in the next one.